folks, I think it's time for us to do the main event. Are you guys ready for some Glenn Greenwald? For those of you who don't remember, Glenn Greenwald used to be considered a leftist journalist and was one of the people who was catapulted into the stratosphere and highly respected due to the leaker Edward Snowden trusting him with data from the US government that showed the US government was spying on US citizens without warrants, using essentially data tracking online. And I believe Glenn Greenwald received the Pulitzer Prize for his reporting on that. He went on to, I believe, found The Intercept. He married a Brazilian politician who was fighting for gay rights in Brazil. And then he completely lost it. He came back to the United States and essentially has shown that he is willing to throw everyone else under the bus. He's willing to attack trans people. He's willing to go after his fellow gays. Recently, he had a video in which he said Dave Rubin was too flamboyant. He is like he's basically trying to be one of the good ones. He's essentially become Blair White, but for cis gay men. Okay. He wants to be the last one to the wall when the fascists take power, and he's willing to do anything to secure that position. Yeah, Dave Rubin is too flamboyant for Glenn Greenwald. Probably because something to do with, like, Dave Rubin having kids with his husband. You know, like, something like that. Yeah, the most milquetoast conservative gay, Dave Rubin, is too flamboyant. Yeah, too flamin'. Flamin' hot Dave, that's what they call him. I feel like it's been like 2 hours, right? Well, we're only 1 hour into this stream, baby. And remember, chat, go to my tweet machine and retweet that I am live, because it really does help me out, okay? Dave Rubin is a bottle of Elmer's glue. That's an insult to Elmer's glue, okay? It's the freshest and most untreated of horse glues. It's wild. Anyway, I say that Glenn Greenwald has now officially completed his transformation into a right-wing figure, as he went to the premiere of Alex Jones' new documentary, which I believe is called War Room? Is that correct? Am I confusing it with something else? Yeah, it's called... No, sorry, it's called Alex's War. Jesus. Yeah, it's about the amazing journey of Alex Jones, who definitely did not just get sued into near bankruptcy because he spread conspiracy theories and lies about the government faking school shootings. Another Hogs at Target vid. I mean, I am a sucker for Hogs at Target. You know what? Let's just take a look at the Hogs being angry at Target. Quick aside to show what Glenn Greenwald is allying himself with, okay? Glenn Greenwald views these people as his primary demographic now, alright?
Okay guys, Target is taking it to the next level here. They got Pride plates, they got Pride cups, they got that crap, they got that crap. Love is not a crime. They got LED lights.
Oh no, LED lights.
I'm gonna go after Target so hard this month that they're gonna have to ban me from every single Target in the whole entire United States.
Yeah, probably because he's hanging out in the kids section being weird.
Excuse me, do you work here?
Yeah.
This offends me
I'm sorry, you had to talk louder. They're talking about your...
This offends me, the pride. You know?
The pride? Uh-huh.
It offends me, like...
Yeah? I'm not paid enough to care, sir.
Can you guys do something about that?
I'm just a worker here. I'm not the...
Is there a manager?
Corporate or anything. You have to call corporate because they're the ones that put that out.
Okay. I'm gonna go after Target so hard that they're gonna have to ban me from every single store.
But, okay, she's just like, oh, okay, sir. What? Why do I care? Yeah, you know what? When I see this, all I think of is all I think about is this guy. If you've ever seen this, all I think about when I see these conservative hit pieces on companies is this guy and how wonderful it is. All right.
You just lost yourself a customer. You think I own this business? You think I own IKEA? I'm a part-time employee halfway through a 2-week notice. I don't give a shit. I'm telling all my friends not to shop here. Tell them. You think I want 5 other yous running around the store? Have them call me, I'll tell them. You think you hate this place more than me? I work here. I know the sale ended last week, but can I still get a discount? Do you hear yourself? We can't go backwards. Time marches on. You want the sale from 15 years ago, too? When's it end, Diane? You want that price? You're gonna have to go through the quantum realm with Ant-Man.
Every single time a conservative with a camera walks into a big box retailer, this is what is going on inside the employee's head.
Do you know how much money I spend here? More than you should. The meatballs ain't that good.
Here you go.
Save your money. And my time. Doesn't matter how much you spend here. We don't thank our donors. This isn't PBS. Every time I come here, my order gets messed up. Then stop coming. Make my day. Every time you come here, your order's messed up. Sounds like you're making the mistake. Look inward. You're ordering the wrong shit. I'd like to speak to your manager. I'd like to speak to your mother. Tell her she should be embarrassed. She raised someone to act like a baby in public.
That's for all the conservatives. That one specifically.
You want to speak to the manager, please? Manager doesn't know what's going on. Haven't you ever worked anywhere before? I know that's not right. I used to work here. Well, things change. Sorry they didn't run it by you first. You used to work here. Well, I used to be happy. Then you walked in. Can you just check in the back? Can you just accept we don't have it? The back ain't some magical place. What do you think is back there? Santa's workshop? The only thing back there is a clipboard with our schedules and some brownies Darcy brought in. The website said it was in stock, and what do your eyes say? Sometimes it's wrong. The website also has pictures of employees smiling. You see that? You should go yell at your computer instead of me. It'll get you the same result. Nothing. This is cheaper at other stores. Then shop there. Why are you here? We need directions? I'll get you some. I'll call you an Uber. Cheaper at other stores. I don't set the prices. I'm a seasonal employee. You working hard or hardly working? I'm hardly laughing. I'm already at work. I don't have time for a second job pretending you're funny. Why don't you tell me something I don't hear every day? Like, thank you. You should open up more registers, and who's gonna work them? You think I'm the only one ringing you up because I called dibs? You want me to clone myself, or you saying you want to apply? Well, you see we're short-handed. Where's your resume? I can't believe they have you working Thanksgiving. I can't believe you're shopping. Why do you think I'm here? It's because of you. I have to stand here for 15 hours so you can yell at me instead of your family.
Hey, Scribbles.
I work retail. I don't even remember what Thanksgiving is. The customer is always right. About what? How to piss me off? You think you're God because you went shopping? You're not infallible, Susan. You're at the mall. Always right. That's why you're on your 9th try hitting the button for credit. Do you have any coupons for me? That's what I ask you. We all have our roles to play. What, you think you just found a cheat code for the store? Oh yeah, I keep a few 100% offs back here for the smart customers. Bring your own. Didn't scan? Must be free, and you must be out of your mind. To think you're the first person to say that. You're not even the first one today. Don't worry about the scan. I'll type in the product code and charge you double. I swear, I fake laugh at this job so much, I forget how my real one sounds. You're open for 10 more minutes? I'll be quick. Quickly move into the exit? This ain't a basketball game. We're not playing to the buzzer. You had the choice to hold a bunch of minimum wage workers hostage or go shopping tomorrow. You chose wrong. Get out.
What's wrong with me?
Do you work here? Obviously, yes. How many people you know wear a name tag recreationally? You think I'm behind the counter because I got lost? Do I work here? No, I'm just dressed like this because I'm going to the midnight premiere of IKEA the movie.
Anyway, that's what runs through every single retail worker's head when they do this.
Guest service, and they'll give you the number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My goal this month is to get banned from every single Target in the whole United States.
That's nice.
Okay.
So.
She's just like, okay.
Target, I'm going after you.
That's nice, dear. He said it 3 times like she was gonna be impressed. She doesn't give a fuck. Get yourself thrown out of Target. Okay. Yeah, she's not paid enough for this shit. She's barely paid enough for hanging those panties on a rack. Hey, Paladin Lost. It's nice to have goals. It's nice to have goals, Sonny. Amazing. Anyway, that's the kind of guy Glenn Greenwald has chosen to ally himself with, okay? It's amazing. It's amazing! Also, apparently, apparently, people are upset that I have boobs. People are upset that I have boobs, chat. Come join me for coverage of the absolute clown Glenn Greenwald going full conservative. And the response is sex sells. I just have boobs. What? Boobs are good. Yeah, how dare you have boobs in frame? Also, then just someone going, not if that's what's for sale. My dude, if I didn't have trans in my profile, you'd be slipping into my DMs, okay? You'd be slipping into my DMs. Dad to twins? That's like the #1 demographic of dudes who send dick pics in my DMs, okay? Is single dads. Hell, you might not even be a single dad. He totally would. Look, my Instagram DMs are full up on dick pics to the point where I just don't look at my DM requests. Why do you look so good today? Because I did my makeup instead of looking like a homeless person. That's fucked up. Radical static, I'm used to it. That's just an average interaction with conservatives on social media. For real though, for real. Like you can't talk if you're a trans person, you can't have like a conversation with you can't have a conversation with conservatives because they'll just like go into being like, oh, you're a man, you're disgusting, I would vomit if I saw you. Like that's basically all they do, okay? Sometimes it's just men who probably should be spending time with their multiple children. Yeah, true. If you can be spending time vomiting about trans women existing on Twitter, you can probably be raising your kids a bit better. Gotta lurk, BRB. Fuck yeah. Yeah, no. Nah. Also, don't spend 3 hours especially if you have like a small following on social media. It is a waste of time for you to argue for multiple hours with conservatives, okay? If you have a platform, like if I am arguing with someone, chat, I try to I'll try and retweet the argument or quote tweet the argument. Because if it's just in like replies, it's not useful to me. It's a waste of my time to spend it doing that when like I could be doing literally anything else with my time. I could be making out with my girlfriend instead. And they told you you'd never be treated like a real girl. True. true. Conservative men just treat women that way. That is true. How dare you have booba? It's true. By having having booba is the most radical action you can have in the face of conservative men, okay? One time I had a conversation with an anti-masker, they would not let me get a word in edgewise. They do not shut the fuck up. Well, yeah, because if they shut the fuck up, they'd have to listen, and, you know, that's inconvenient for their narrative. Yeah, having massive titty is a blow in the face of God. All right. Anyway, Glenn Greenwald is a shitty-ass shitter, and we're gonna watch him talk with Alex Jones, another person who shits out his ass, and then wipes it with his hand. All right? Let's go.
Yeah, you know, I this week I had to spend time explaining what I thought was never necessary to explain, which is you can, if you're a journalist, for example, go and speak to someone without making clear whether you love that person or hate that.
My dude! Glenn, we are 20 seconds less than 20 seconds into this video because you've only been talking for like 3 seconds. I gotta stop you there because you're not just interviewing someone, you're doing a live Q&A at the premiere of Alex Jones's new movie. This isn't like you are having a one-on-one conversation where you are like getting to the truth of the matter. You are literally helping him promote his new film. Jesus.
That person, but simply to try and understand them is kind of fundamental to what journalists are supposed to do, and I think that's the same for filmmakers and artists.
Also, Glenn Greenwald isn't a journalist, okay? He's not breaking news stories. He's just all he's really doing these days is doing opinion pieces. He's just a new conservative talking head, and that's it.
And the fact that you even have to explain yourself, the fact that it's unusual to watch a film without constantly being bombarded with the filmmaker's moral perspective, I think is a testament to just how repressive the society has become. And I really want to congratulate you for resisting that and for kind of restoring what I think is the purpose of art and journalism, in film and documentaries, which is to show the public information that they ought to have and let them decide what they think about it, as opposed to shoving that conclusion down their face. And life is a lot easier for you, as I said, if you had chosen a different route. But I think it takes a lot of courage for you to do that, and I think it's important. So I want to congratulate you for that.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right, so do you want to end the weirdness of talking about Alex Jones right in front of him if he's not here, and bring him up on stage?
Hey,
all right.
Get up here, AJ.
Come on, Alex.
Does he have a mic?
Yeah, he should have a mic.
I can borrow your mic.
We can share.
You can share. No, I mean,
I haven't asked
it's
anything,
good to be here.
Alex. Do you want to talk?
Cylon Raiders attack. No.
What? Shylon Raiders? Is that... Knowing Alex Jones, he was trying to say, like, something anti-Semitic, like Shylock Raiders attack? Shylon. Is that a thing? I need to listen to that again. What is that? What was he trying to say? Wait, but what was he trying to say? Cylon? Why? Yeah, did he just slur while trying to pronounce Cylon? How drunk is he?
Cylon Raiders attack. No, I mean, listen, I got into this on
I think you're right. He just slurred Cylon.
Access TV when I was 21 years old. But I meant everything purity. I made a lot of mistakes. I've done a lot of bad stuff, but it wasn't on purpose. So it's great to be here with Glenn Greenwald. It's great to be here with Alex Moyer. And the thing is, I didn't lie on purpose. I made a lot of mistakes, but I'm not some person getting orders and lying to people. And we're probably like 90% accurate, 10% wrong. And I want to get better. And so that's just where I'm at. And it's great to be here. And I'm glad you made a film that just kind of shows what we've done, because I look at it, it's kind of horrifying how obnoxious I am, and then parts of it are good. But I mean, I did this from a pure place, and that's at the end of the day, like, I did not lie to people on purpose. I did make mistakes on purpose, and I'm just glad you guys made this film.
You didn't lie to people on purpose. Okay, dude. Okay.
So, Alex, let me actually begin by asking you a little bit about that in terms of your intentions and the like, because
legally though, you did lie to people on purpose. That's why you lost your court case, dude.
When I watched the film, it was just so striking, this early footage of you.
Brendan,
and I remember
toast?
when the internet first discovered some of the early pictures of you from your public access days in Austin. I remember liberals being almost horrified, like with this cognitive dissonance, like we're supposed to look at him as a screaming, spitting monster, and yet these pictures are disturbingly handsome.
What? Yeah, if you're looking at pictures, obviously it's not going to be... The pictures aren't going to be yelling and screaming, Glenn. They're fucking pictures.
In this like very mainstream, normal way. You obviously from the beginning had a kind of charisma, a natural charisma in front of the camera. That's what people even said from the first time they saw you. And so when you combine these attributes that you had when you were young, I think you clearly, had you been somebody who was willing to affirm rather than question establishment pieties, could have ended up as like a meteorologist on like Good Morning America or like some Anderson Cooper type. And I'm wondering if you were aware of that potential and purposely chose to reject it for a different path, this kind of path of misfits and outcasts that we're surrounded by delightfully, or whether it was just so natural to your personality that you never...
Look, Glenn Greenwald is just being a real journalist right now. And being a real journalist is just effusively praising the subject of your journalism while promoting his new film.
Considered trying to pursue that kind of mainstream acceptability.
Glenn, I was thinking about driving here today, what I wanted to say, and I forgot it. Thank God you brought that up. No, seriously. No, it's really intuitive. My enemies say I'm this Lex Luthor mastermind, and I would love to say that. It's none of that. I could study the news and politics and read like books by Zbigniew Brzezinski, and like these were scary things, but I had no training, no idea, no plan. And this idea that like,
hey, Glenn Greenwald, just in case you missed this clip, just in case you missed it, all right?
By the way, if you're a radio listener, you haven't been fortunate enough or unfortunate enough to actually see what we're showing, but everywhere they're pushing sex bots, and they're a giant new industry, basically just fancy blow-up dolls that have like an Alexa bot program hooked into the central network of the people that produce these. And the tech companies just have basically a big rubber blow-up doll sex bot that's in your house that has like a fleshlight, I guess is what they call them, as a sex member. And they push it as trendy and brave and cool. And they're now even creating on the LGBTQP3CL4. They were showing me the designations they show elementary kids in Canada, the U.S., and the U.K. Let's put that back on screen. You guys found some of those during the break because they're ever expanding. They're now saying sex with machines or sex with cars or sex with appliances. There's a whole big movement where people are marrying their cars, marrying their toasters, marrying their dogs, their cats, their horses. I'm not kidding. And they're catching people in public places. You see it all the time, like trying to have sex with a Ferrari or trying to have sex with a 57 Chevy. And they actually, I'm not going to get into the details of what they do, but they lube up the tailpipe and everything, and then police come up.
I'm not going to get into the details, but here's the detail.
There's a guy hunching your car. So this is the total mental illness, a breakdown of society. And if you don't let somebody have sex with your car, you're a homophobe, you're a bigot, you're a horrible person. By the way, this is not satire. I'm not kidding here. Okay, this is what they're teaching kids now. And so you could dump Drano in your eyes, identify as a blind person, and the government of the U.S. or U.K. or Canada will pay for you to be taken care of for the rest of your life because you were mentally ill and wanted to hurt yourself and pour Drano in your eyes, a drain cleaner. So this is the whole plan. And, of course, I think I'm going to buy some of these sex dolls and basically torch them just to show folks that their AI God is nothing but a fraud. And I think there's going to be a major outcry that I'm a bigot and evil person for doing it. But we've got to start saying we're for normal biological behavior. We're for the future of the human species. We don't want to be dehumanized. We don't want to follow the AI technocracy plan of the AI gods where they make normal biological reproduction physically impossible and then absorb us into this matrix. That's their admitted plan. They've been pre-programming you through Hollywood. And we've got to come together as humans and have like a human union.
Yeah. This guy, just casually conflates, men fucking men with people wanting to fuck cars. Or here's another one.
Upper crust and they're starving to death. This is what communism delivers. It's what Venezuela delivers. It's what all you people...
Oh, sorry. This isn't the right clip. My bad. Here we go. God damn it. Here we go.
It's unbelievable. What we're hearing from the Democrats, both in the House and Senate, is red baiting.
That's on drugs.
Fear mongering.
It was younger.
It is well beyond the point of recklessness. Whether it is Adam Schiff who has maligned me, or whether it is Senator Mark Warner, or whether it is Senator John McCain. But let me tell you something, Alex. These guys are pussies. They talk a tough game. We're gonna get Roger Stone in front of the committee, gentlemen. Ladies, I am ready. I am more than ready.
In fact, let me say this right now. Let me tell, I'm not against gay people. Okay, I love them. They're great folks.
Wait for the butt.
But Schiff looks like the archetypal cocksucker with those little deer-in-the-headlight eyes and all his stuff. And there's something about this fairy hopping around, bossing everybody around, trying to intimidate people like me and you. I want to tell Congressman Schiff and all the rest of them, hey, listen, asshole, quit saying Roger and I. And I've never used cussing in 22 years, but the gloves are off. Listen, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's never cussed in 22 years. I believe that. Definitely.
What the fuck's your problem? You want to sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking Russian? You get in my face with that, I'll beat your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line. Get that through your goddamn fucking head. Stop pushing your shit. You're the people that have fucked this country over and gang raped the shit out of it and lost an election. So stop shooting your mouth off claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch? Fill your hand. I'm sorry, but I'm done. You start calling me a foreign agent, those are fucking fighting words. Excuse me.
Yeah, I don't think I have ever been in a campaign in which we disparage the patriotism of our opponents. Now,
that's bullshit, Roger. You know it. Got a fucking tattoo of Nixon on your back.
Like, I'm this mastermind. It's these.
Wait, this meme is based on the clip?
I've never used cussing in 22 years, but the gloves are off.
You said you son of a bitch. What the fuck's your problem? You sit here and say that I'm a goddamn fucking Russian. To get my face without bitch, you goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. You piece of shit. You fucking goddamn fucker. I said fuck him. You fucking crossed the line. Did they do your goddamn fucking head? Stop pushing this shit. We're the people that fuck this country over. And then rip the shit out of the glass election. So stop shooting your mouth off. Claim that I'm the enemy. You goddamn son of a bitch. Fill me in, I'm sorry about that. If I'm calling you a fire engine, those are fucking fighting words.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Opposite. I mean, I can't balance my checkbook. And I'm not trying to put myself down. It's just like they literally think I'm like this evil mastermind, and I literally can't balance my checkbook. And they're just like attacking me.
Wait, your ability to do math is not a reflection of how evil you are, Alex. Those things have nothing to do with each other.
Constantly like, where's the secret? Where's the Russians? Who's giving the Mercers? Who's giving the orders? And I'm like, I was just covering the news. I was just giving my opinion on something. And so, no, I had no idea what I was doing. I just was pro-America and like kind of a libertarian and like didn't like Republicans, didn't like Democrats. And I was just watching all this happen. I said, God, I get on Access TV. Because I tried to go to college and try to get an RTF job. And they're like, it'll take you 5 years to even do anything in radio. So I was like, well, I'll do Access TV. So it was basically, I had my own political beliefs that were just pro-freedom. And then I got involved and was immediately successful. And then I was like, trying to figure it out as I went. And I'm trying to be truthful, made a lot of mistakes along the way, but none of it was with malice. None of it was meant to hurt anybody.
Yeah, we're going to talk about...
That's a weird way to open your show, Alex. That's a weird way to talk about that.
Mistakes for sure in a few minutes, because it wouldn't be a complete discussion without that. But before we get to that, the question of your politics, I think is so interesting, and this is what was striking me watching the film is there's this idea, if you ask somebody with what political faction or ideology is Alex Jones associated, they would instantly say, oh, the far right. And I'm watching you well before most people thought about doing it, spreading huge amounts of skepticism and doubt about the CIA, the US security state. You're confronting the FBI well before Trump began spreading that kind of skepticism in Republican circles. You even are talking about the NSA before 9/11. You're warning about the dangers of exaggerating the threats of bin Laden and Al-Qaeda in order to kind of bring it into a sort of authoritarian imbalance. Lots of things that people very associated with the left have been saying for a long time, kind of opposing these institutions of authoritarianism, warning about how they exploit people's perceptions to put the population in fear. How have you...
You were saying so many things like school shootings were fake. So many things.
You've seen yourself ideologically and politically along the years.
Exactly. I mean, starting out like 95, 96.
Exactly. Glenn Greenwald is here to whitewash Alex Jones. That's what he's here to do. He's doing his job.
First articles were like, communist Alex Jones is anti-American. Because I was against wars and surveillance. Because that just seemed like, well, Bill of Rights says you don't do this, so this is bad. And I was just following the Constitution really ham-fistedly. And I was like, well, I see all this news about this. And so I wasn't even being right-wing or left-wing. I was simply thinking, well, I want to promote freedom. That's a fun thing to do. And so that's really where it came from. And then that's why, like, Martin Sheen, 18 years ago or so, said, hey, we want to fly you out here to California.
Oh, yeah, no, Spyro Gal, he just lost the Sandy Hook thing, and he's, like, going bankrupt.
And we want you to, Milo Estevez's son, we really love what you're doing. So I get to their house, and it's like I'm sitting there and they're putting movies on, like, so you're really...
Metal Turtle, whisper it to Ahmad.
A good liberal, right? You're against these wars, and you're against George Bush. I'm like, yeah, I'm against George Bush. And they didn't care that I was pro-gun or any of this stuff. It was like... I'm sitting there like, oh, Anthony Hopkins is coming over for dinner. Let's have dinner right now. So like, we're talking like 18 years ago. I'm sitting with Anthony Hopkins eating roast beef at Martin Sheen's house in Malibu. And I'm like, what's this place? Because I had no idea. Like a private jet lands, flies down to California. They're like, you're a very important young filmmaker. You're exposing the evil right wingers. I'm like, I just don't want to have a war. I don't want to support what these people are doing. And so there was that. And then as soon as Obama got in, they're like, well, wait a minute, this is Obama. And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't like what Obama's continuing the same stuff. So to me, I literally just went on Access TV at like 21 years old, got a local radio show at 22, got syndicated at 23, totally self-taught, made a ton of mistakes, but I did it from a place.
Totally self-taught, made a ton of mistakes. Like, for example, spread the conspiracy theory that the Democrats were running a child sex trafficking ring out of a pizza parlor basement in Washington, D.C., and that resulted in one of my viewers going and shooting it up. That was a mistake that I made, but I was just a silly kid back then in 2015.
The truth, and then I experienced like Hollywood and what it does, and then the right wing, and then just I had this great experience over 28 years on air of like seeing all the weird underbellies of all this stuff, because I didn't come into it from the establishment. I literally came out of Access TV in Austin, Texas, and so because I wasn't part of any of the power structures,
hey, boy meets
I got
Minnie.
to see stuff nobody else has seen.
So let me ask you a similar question to the one I asked Alex, which is, It is so striking. When I began writing about politics in 2005, liberals hated more than anybody George Bush, the architects of the Iraq War. I began writing in opposition to rendition and the torture regime and Guantanamo and due process-free imprisonment. And it's just so striking that all the people back then who were implementing it, were advocating it, are completely acceptable, in fact, beloved in mainstream liberal circles. Liberals watch media outlets and consume media outlets that employ those people. As I was saying, I could interview all of them and I would be applauded by liberals. And yet you, who back in 2004 were saying, don't trust George W. Bush, his father was the CIA director, the Iraq war is based on lies, all things that ought to appeal to that sensibility of liberals, you are uniquely castigated and kind of cast out of good company.
Yeah, I wonder why, Glenn. I wonder if there might be other things that Alex Jones talks about that might be bad. I wonder.
Company to the point where you're one of the very few people that even journalists are told they can't speak to. Why is that? Why have you been identified as such a threat in a way that other people who actually have blood on their...
What? Glenn, you have the audacity to open this, calling yourself a journalist, and then you're just asking the most softball questions. Why do you think other people think you're bad?
Their hands and wars on their legacy.
You're so good, Alex. Why do other people think you're bad?
Aren't even remotely cast as.
Well, I mean, that's a great question. And I again, only learned this, Glenn, through organic experience of it. But if I lied about WMDs, if I killed millions of people, I'm part of the establishment. But they're not scared of Alex Jones. They're scared of populist movements. And the fact that I wasn't left-wing or right-wing, the fact that I was just pro-America and pro-freedom, it really wasn't me. They just saw me as like the American people. And like, okay, this is what the American people produced. This is organic, because they went and checked out who I was, knew I wasn't controlled. They're like, well, this guy just came out of the dirt. And so this is the enemy. And so it's their hatred of the general public, their hatred of the organic grassroots. It's not me. It's their hatred of just good, decent, classical, liberal Americans that want peace and want justice and want unity and want justice and want everybody to live in peace. We don't want to hurt anybody. We're not judging anybody. We want our freedom. And so that's what freaked them out. Like, well, this guy could get this popular and he's just some idiot on Access TV. What are we going to do? So I'm a symbol of their insecurity. I'm not that strong. They're weak. And that's what they're scared of.
Yeah, for the record. Oh God, Young Turks on Facebook. God damn.
He's a lunatic. Makes up wild conspiracy theories about pig, bear, human hybrids, and on top of that, he's deeply anti-Semitic. Now, why do I say that? For a number of reasons. He has attacked George Soros over and over again with references to his background. He attacked Michael Wolff, who wrote the book about Donald Trump. They both happen to be Jewish. You'll see it in a second as well. Says that Soros worked with the Nazis. It's just like, say someone who, I don't know if you know that Soros survived the Holocaust.
Yeah.
So Alex Jones is the worst guy on earth. Anyway, we're gonna get to what happened.
George Soros worked with Nazis who were also trying to murder George Soros.
Today in a second. But in his midst of his lunatic attacks against Americans of Jewish descent, he started with Michael Wolff. This is a little while back, and just to give you some context. And he said, "Oh, Michael Wolff, he looks bad." And then he put up a picture of Brian Stelter and started railing on him and saying that he looks like Michael Wolff and they're all the same. Now, as it turns out, Brian Stelter is not Jewish, but of course, Alex Jones, once he gets worked up, he doesn't know. He's like, "Look at him." So, in fact, here, let's show you the video.
But just look at Stelter again. Put him on screen. I think this all the broadcast should be is just a photo of Stelter smiling. Oh my gosh. Oh, hell on earth.
Seems like a perfectly fine picture to me. Why? Michael Wolff and Brian Stelter, and look at them and hell on. Why? Okay, but we're just getting warmed up. Remember this?
He wants to run your life. He wants to control every aspect of your life because he knows he is a cowardly, degenerate sack of anti-human trash.
By the way, anti-human is a dog whistle for Jewish. In case you aren't aware of that.
I pledge before my Heavenly Father that I will resist them every way I can. These people are the literal demon spawn of the pit of hell. Look at him. And you know what? He is better than you if you keep letting him run your life. He runs your kids. He runs the schools. He runs the banks. This guy, this spirit.
Yeah, by the way, he runs the schools. He runs the banks. He's saying Brian Stelter is a Jew who's helping to run the world.
Smiling, leering devil that thinks you can't see what he is. He is your enemy. Period. All the narcissistic devil-worshipping filth. I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy. 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 You are my enemy. And I swear total resistance to you with everything I've got.
So, look, it's hard not to be amused by this literal lunatic on air ranting and raving when he should be in a straitjacket. But the things he's saying are not funny. They're the most anti-Semitic things I have ever heard in American media. He ticked off almost every single trope used to attack Jews in history across the world. Anti-human trash, dehumanize them. Demon spawn, references to devil worship, filth. I mean, this is fascism 101, Nazi 101.
Yep.
He's controlling.
He's been doing it for years, chat. Years.
Your kids, a reference to kids, which he's going to make worse in a second with blood libel. And he runs the banks. Brian Stelter, it works in media. Why would he run the banks? Because that is the most classic trope against Jews in history. So he's going off on Soros and Wolf and Stelter and these people, they're filth, they're trash, and he promises his heavenly Father that he's going to rout out the enemy. I've seen this movie before, except the guy had a little mustache right here when he was saying it. So now, today, he is going to defend himself, and he says, no, it's okay. I'm not anti-Semitic. Well, I am very curious to see what this defense is going to be. Buckle up.
Soros is a Nazi collaborator that helped round up thousands of his fellow Jews, and then he has groups saying, I'm a Nazi collaborator when he's a Nazi. I mean, it just shows how reprobate and bankrupt the leftists are. And she's my ex-wife now. And, you know, it's my new wife, her pedigree's German, 3/4 German from Omaha, and a quarter Irish, and I'm proud of that background. And the anti-Semites call her Jewish and everything else. And if she was, I'd be proud of it. But no, she's got a noble nose, but she's not Jewish. So, you know, that's what all this comes down to, ladies and gentlemen. And
guys, he's just anti-Semitic. He is anti-Semitic. And I know it's easy to laugh at him a lot, and I like, for real, but never forget what he is, which is, I mean, the most charitable I could possibly be is that he is Nazi adjacent, and that is an extreme amount of charitability on my part.
Just is insane.
Oh, double facepalm. Your defense of why you're not anti-Semitic is my wife has a big nose, but she's not Jewish.
Yep.
You just said that Jews have big noses, and it is not a defense to, like, he couldn't even.
No wonder his wife divorced him. Like, holy shit.
Say some of my best friends are Jewish. He couldn't say my wife is Jewish. He couldn't say any of that. He had no defense. He said my wife's not Jewish, but she has a big nose like the Jews. Oh my God, that's the worst defense I have ever heard in my life. But he thinks nailed it. Look, if you weren't clear about the tropes, I'm going to give you one more from the Brian Stelter rant. I mean, again, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. This guy, and by the way, if you notice in the beginning there, he called George Soros a Nazi collaborator. Of course that's not true. Of course he's not. And Soros was a kid at the time. The guy survives the Holocaust. And this clown, and I'm trying not to use worse words against him, but he has more than earned it, then turns around and calls a Holocaust survivor a Nazi collaborator. And then he says this about Stelter.
Disingenuous, fake, false, broke back, twisted, a defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, a devil. You will pay. Yeah, you think I don't see your face, scum? You don't think I don't see you, Stelter? I see you. You understand me? I know what you think of me and my family. I see you right back. You understand that? You understand that, Stelter? Stelter. You will fall. You will not bring humanity down. God is going to destroy you. Get him off the screen. Oh, God, they're so evil. Just please, God, free us from them. They're drunk on our children's blood, for God's sake. Okay, I'm going to stop right now.
Wow. Just in case he hadn't finished a complete list of anti-Semitic tropes, broke back, that's a reference to them leading a deviant lifestyle. Again, exactly what the Germans said back in the 1930s. A defiler, a betrayer, a backstabber, classic anti-Semitic trope. God will destroy you, as they said back then as well. And then finally, he almost forgot blood libel. So they're gonna drink your kid's blood. Who's they? Gee, I wonder who they is. Can't quite tell. But it's okay, because his wife has a big nose like Jews. Look, what Hitler did obviously speaks for itself and is the worst of the worst. But if you did a Hitler speech and that speech, are you sure Hitler's was worse? Just speeches. Because I don't know that Hitler hit every single trope in a matter of 60 seconds. I don't know that he looked as crazy as that. He looked pretty crazy. And obviously he was crazy and did the worst things imaginable. But the fascists are here. And so I know we kid around about it because he's such a lunatic. But the president listens to this fascist. So it's not funny anymore.
Yeah. It's not. Also, for those of you who are unaware, blood libel is literally a 2 millennia plus old anti-Semitic stereotype that first appears in writing in the 1st century BC, basically claiming that every 7 years the Jews captured a stranger, brought him to the temple in Jerusalem, and sacrificed him, cutting his flesh into bits. That is, it is one of the oldest slanders. It's something that you see repeated again and again and again throughout history and throughout the Middle Ages. You see it in Shakespeare. Shakespeare's most famous Jewish character literally demanding a pound of flesh, through a business transaction. It is something that has come and appeared over and over and over again. It is sick. It is disgusting. And by the way, it is one of the main components of conspiracy theories today in America. The whole QAnon stuff about people drinking adrenochrome. That's just repackaged blood libel. The Alex Jones will straight up say blood libel conspiracy theories, but it gets repackaged quite a bit in a lot of other corners. And by the way, I believe that, and I could be wrong about this, if anyone wants to correct me, I believe, like, Glenn Greenwald's parents are Jewish. He doesn't practice it, but I guarantee you, people like Alex Jones consider Glenn Greenwald Jewish, even if he's a non-practicing Jewish individual, okay? Like, Glenn, he literally believes that you are someone who sacrifices and drinks the blood of children. Like, how cucked do you have to be to share a stage with Alex Jones if you are any kind of honest journalist, to promote Alex Jones's new film?
So, you know, it is interesting that the thing they hate most are people who develop influence and a significant audience without being captive to their structures and their influence. And that is something that defines what you've done, I think, more than anything. You came out of public access TV, which was tolerated because it's supposed to be a joke that no one watches, and yet you developed this gigantic audience. And clearly part of why is because you have a kind of showman charisma, a kind of, you know, entertainment component to you that made people want to watch. And one of the things that struck me was, you know, you were talking early on in this funny episode about how when you were 12, you would see these preachers with Rolls Royces and gigantic houses doing coke off hookers' breasts and whatever. And they developed an audience because they had this similar kind of showmanship. They were able to get people to watch. And by the end of the film, we're watching you talking about praying for President Bush and satanic influences in a way that, I'm just wondering.
No, let's be honest. I became the Abyss.
Okay, but was there do you notice that a kind of similarity?
No, Glenn, you nailed it. I became what I saw. But for a good cause, but it wasn't on purpose. Only at 48 can I now see it. No, I was like, damn, that's a hot slut that preacher's banging on his back porch. That Rolls Royce looks pretty damn nice. No, I mean, I wasn't doing that consciously, but yeah, there's definitely. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it's true. I'm a preacher, and so only now at like 48 last years, I'm like, whoa, what have I been doing? I've kind of like, you know, the things you get old, you go, damn, what I just do? You're like, damn, I did all that. Like, God, I'm a freaking horrible person. But then I didn't do it consciously. The establishment is lying according to formulas. I didn't ever do stuff on purpose. But I want to absolve
I did never do stuff on purpose, he says, for legal reasons, because he doesn't want the courts to take all his money for Sandy Hook victims that he campaigned against for like a decade.
Myself. I haven't done that much bad, but you know, I'll admit I've done some bad. So that's very intuitive, that's what you said is true. I have I'm like, it's just true. I am the crazy preacher.
Well, that's why I put it in the movie, Alex.
No, I got the movie. I was horrified. I had to walk out 5 times. You think I was sitting there like, this is really great? I look like...
Yes, that's why you're here to promote the film.
Jabba the Hutt up there like on PCP or something, but the difference is I didn't do it on purpose. Like, you know, imagine the people that know this stuff and they go, I like this. You know.
That's you. You're just describing yourself.
Let me talk about January 6th. It's obviously a prominent part of the film, and I think one of the things people probably don't know, I didn't know this until I saw the film, was what a vocal effort you made to urge the public to be nonviolent. At least
that is true. I covered January 6th, and I saw Alex Jones's coverage going around the Capitol complex, trying to urge people not to like break into the Capitol and shit. But, weird how that didn't work, huh?
Because you knew if they weren't, it would strategically backfire. Looking back on what happened with January 6th and the fact that most people there did heed those warnings to be nonviolent, but a few people didn't. And they were able to take that and kind of spin this insurrection narrative out of it that to this very day is the thing they're trying to have shape the legacy of the Trump movement and Donald Trump itself. Do you look back on January 6th as something that was a huge strategic error with regret, or do you think that it's basically been a media distortion that has taken what was otherwise a good event and turned it into something darker?
it's a paradox. The cool Republican thing is to say, we did a great job, screw you Democrats. But we had so many other events around the country in DC with like 500,000 people that I didn't expect it would go haywire. I thought the police would be there and it would be controlled. But it was a disaster. And then I get subpoenaed. I spent $500,000 with lawyers in the last year and a half, like with the federal government's FBI subpoenas just crawling all over us. And they just keep asking, we want the Trump meeting where he gave you the orders. Like, I haven't talked to Trump like a year before January 6th. I'm going to say it's the truth. They have all my phone records. And so I'm mad that we got lured into that trap. But at the same time, I'm more mad about how they said it was bigger than Pearl Harbor and big as 9/11. And Chuck Schumer's like, this was as big as Pearl Harbor and 9/11. No, dude, 3,000 people died at each event. This is not.
No, it is as big of an event insofar as it is the largest attack on our capital since 1812, my dude.
Not as bad as Pearl Harbor. It was terrible, and we just walked like idiots into it. Because you're in D.C., it's so massive, and you're like, well, I expect the authorities are in command here. We got 1 million people there, and I just expected that the system would be in place, and it wasn't. And I'm mad at Pelosi trying to block Trump with his 10,000 troops. I'm upset with Trump waiting, over an hour and a half while all this was going on. I mean, I'm out there trying to stop what's happening. And I'm also mad we learned it was like 1,000 feds and military were in plain clothes. So I'm like, don't go in the building, don't go in the building. If they just stood up, it wouldn't have happened. So it's a very complex situation. But if I had it all over to do, it shows like we tried to launch a peaceful demonstration of our numbers to show we didn't buy the election.
Yeah, we had a peaceful demonstration to stop the counting of electoral votes.
Which obviously, look at Biden.
Democracy.
Guy can't tie his shoelaces. He didn't win the election. We were trying to show, hey.
Oh, he didn't even win the election. Okay. You're still spreading that. All right.
He can't get 10 people. Remember, he'd have like campaign events.
Alex's natural state of being is being upset, though. That's true. He is not a good person. That is 100% true.
It's like a Chevy dealership, like cars. Well, there's a Jeep right there, and there's a something over there, and so we wanted a big number. That's what Trump wanted, and I just feel like a fool walking into that trap. So it's Glenn, it's a complex issue, but if I had it all to do again, I would have just stepped back and said, Biden, just sink the ship and see what happens. Because, man, I'm not a revolutionary leader in, like, war. I'm not trying to lead troops. I don't have some weird thing in my head like I need to be a military G.I. Joe guy. But when you get 1 million people in D.C., it doesn't matter. Even if they're being manipulated, it's still your responsibility. So I have a lot of guilt over January 6th because it could have gone really bad. If the federal provocateurs had their way, if they would have, the Q people would have actually kidnapped Mike Pence and Pelosi and put them in handcuffs, we'd be in martial law right now, because that would have been us capturing the Capitol. That would have been the country going down the tube. So we came in. January 6th in closing was a dud. It was meant to provocateur us into a violent event, meant to get out of control. Thank God it failed. And so I feel like I've been brought to the edge of death. And so January 6th to me is very serious.
Let me ask you about the underlying cause of January 6th, which nominally at least was the idea that there had been widespread fraud in the 2020 election, that Donald Trump actually won these states like Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and others, and that because of fraud, they had swung the rightful victor, which is Donald Trump, to Joe Biden. There was a point in the film where you were talking about Sandy Hook, and I thought
Alex is just trying to cover his ass because it didn't work out the way he wanted it to, okay?
He said was very poignant, which is anyone can kind of get carried away in their ideology where you start almost becoming so anti-establishment. I definitely feel this myself sometimes, that you kind of want to cast doubt on what the establishment is saying simply because they lie so often, that you want to kind of make the point that these are untrustworthy institutions.
Wait, did Glenn just validate? Wait, I glossed over that in my brain. Did Glenn just validate that?
Nominally, at least, was
provocateur us into a violent event that was meant to get out of control. Thank God it failed. And so I feel like I've been brought to the edge of death. And so January 6th to me is very serious.
Let me ask you about the underlying cause of January 6th, which nominally at least was the idea that there had been widespread fraud in the 2020 election, that Donald Trump actually won these states like Arizona, Pennsylvania.
I mean, he's validating it insofar as he is on stage to promote this film and to promote Alex Jones. So, I maintain what I said.
Georgia and others, and that because of fraud, they had swung the rightful victor, which is Donald Trump, to Joe Biden. There was a point in the film where you were talking about Sandy Hook, and I thought something you said was very poignant, which is anyone can kind of get carried away in their ideology, where you start almost becoming so anti-establishment. I definitely feel this myself sometimes, that you kind of want to cast doubt on what the establishment is saying simply because they lie so often, that you want to kind of make the point that these are untrustworthy institutions independent of the argument you're making. In this case, where you were saying there was widespread fraud, did you actually conduct what you feel like is kind of a meticulous, a forensic analysis of the voting patterns and conclude that there was fraud in these states sufficient to have swung the election? Or was this kind of an ethos, like a way of saying that the establishment was so against Trump from the beginning in illegitimate ways that I'm going to kind of endorse this cause, not because it's necessarily true in its particulars, but more as kind of a thematic way of protesting?
No, I mean, I'll be honest, which the establishment doesn't do. I'll be honest. It was a pre-baked deal that obviously Biden's not going to get more votes than Trump. And we saw all the weird, anomalies and like Democrats blocking the windows and people like feeding machines full of things. And so we saw some evidence, but we were expecting it. And so, you could say it's kind of a foregone conclusion. And we all looked through rose-colored darklies, but I think it's kind of 50-50. And then now in hindsight, with 2,000 Mules and all the stuff that's come out, I mean, I think that obviously I don't think Biden got more votes than Trump. But in a sick way, it's better that Biden's in, so we now get to see what the establishment's really about. But yeah, I mean, we expected election fraud right away. And so kind of when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. I mean, I think we distorted our views, obviously. And they'll say, Jones admits he distorted views. No, there was evidence of the fraud, and it got covered up and it got suppressed. But I'm not going to lie and say I didn't distort my views in hindsight to what was happening.
Yeah, I think...
What the fuck does that even mean?
One of the things...
He's trying so hard to take no responsibility for his own actions. It's actually kind of incredible.
To think about a lot.
Hey, Tofu Ghost.
The established media.
Basically, Alex Jones is trying to cover his own ass legally since he's in, the courts are currently trying to decide how much money he has to pay to Sandy Hook victims. So he's trying to cover his ass and also trying to play up the conspiracy theories. It's kind of an incredible dance to watch, really.
Its function is to spread disinformation. They lie constantly in ways far worse than what you just kind of...
Exactly. I admit I'm wrong because I don't want to be a liar like them on purpose. Like Russiagate.
Russiagate being calling you a conspiracy theorist is so hilarious, given that for 4 years, the leading institutions of our country were insisting that the Kremlin had seized the levers of power in the United States by virtue of sexual blackmail over Donald Trump, this sort of, kind of like Robert Ludlum novel from the Cold War that would get rejected for being too stupid and banal. That was like the leading narrative of our discourse for so long. However, when you are somebody who's standing against kind of establishment authority and establishment institutions, you know that one of the things they're going to do is seize on any mistake that you make. So and this is what I kind of try and counsel people all the time who are trying to be dissidents, which is you need to be 1,000 times more careful, because they can lie all the time and no one's going to call them out on it because they're on the side of the people with the more powerful megaphones. Do you feel like you, on some occasions, have paid insufficient attention to the need not to hand your enemies really easy and cheap weapons for them to take and bash you over the head with?
Dude, Glenn, he literally thinks that you drink the blood of children because your parents were Jewish. Like, man, I cannot wrap my head around being as cucked as Glenn Greenwald is, okay? Yeah, how do you feel about people who have to make up things to make you look bad? Says man who is sitting across from another man who thinks that being gay is degenerate and also being Jewish means you're part of a secret cabal that runs the world.
100%, Glenn. Because I'm a 48 now, and the last year has been a learning process. But I never realized how big the show was. It's been big for 20 years, really big for 10. And so I would just kind of like, I would say devil's advocate, this, that. And I'd say this is just a debate, but they will take it out of context. And so when you've got that big a megaphone, just because they're the ones editing it doesn't mean you still don't have a responsibility to not do that. So I try to be a lot more careful now about things. And my audience actually likes that. I was just untrained and didn't know what I was doing. So most of what I said was accurate and resonated with the grassroots, but some of it was absolutely not right. And it was said with so much confidence because I wasn't lying. Like when you're not lying on purpose, but you're saying it, you believe it, people believe it because you're being genuine. That's even more dangerous. And I think that's what it is. And so
Glenn Greenwald is doing this specifically because he just doesn't give a fuck. He's just chasing after whatever gets him what he perceives as clout.
Unlike CNN or MSNBC or ABC or the New York Times, I want to admit in front of the world that I'm not perfect. I made a lot of mistakes. And I'm trying to figure this out because as you get more power, you realize, wow, I'm really having an effect here. And this affects people. I need to really watch what I'm saying. But then you see the very people lying on purpose point their finger at you and say, you're a liar. You're putting out this info. And I'm like, dude, I didn't watch all these wars. I'm not lying on purpose. I made mistakes. And that's really what frustrates me is they still kind of moralize like they're this high authority and they have all this stuff. And like, I'm trying to tell the truth and I get things wrong. They are lying, like you said, on purpose, and they think it's funny. And so they're not my judge. God's my judge. My viewers are my judge. And so, yes, I will admit in front of my viewers that I've been wrong and I made a lot of mistakes and I apologize for them. But I did it.
I've made a lot of mistakes and I did, a lot of things wrong, but I didn't mean any of them. Haha, don't hold me accountable. I can't be held accountable for the things I say or do. I'm just a silly little boy who's 400 years old.
From a place of truth. But I will not be judged by the New York Times. I will not be judged by these people.
So, I mentioned before, I want to ask you a little bit about Sandy Hook. I know the expectation is I'm supposed to come here and bash you over the head about Sandy Hook.
Go ahead, I deserve it.
No, I have no interest in doing that.
Go ahead, I deserve it. Ha 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 ha.
I don't give a shit what the expectations are. It would bore me if I tried. You've talked about it extensively.
What? Wait, what? You're not going to ask him about Sandy Hook because it would bore you, Glenn? Wait.
Is I'm supposed to come here and bash you over the head about Sandy
Go ahead, I deserve it.
No, I have no interest in doing that. I don't give a shit what the expectations are. It would bore me if I tried.
Okay, it would bore him if he tried to hold you accountable for lying about the deaths of children. Okay.
Talked about it extensively for people who are interested in it. You've been deposed about it. You've talked for hours about it. People interested in the particulars can go watch that if they want. I'm not going to jump through hoops in order to appease people angry that I'm here. I do though want to ask you about a question that I'm actually interested in myself, which is, you just said that you have made mistakes. Obviously, one of those is the stuff you said about Sandy Hook. We watched you in the film come very clean about the fact that you made statements that turned out to be untrue. You've obviously spent a lot of kind of reflective time. It's like the soulful Alex Jones we got to see in the last part of the
Oh yeah, you're definitely not here to whitewash him, Glenn. Uh-huh.
The film.
We got to see soulful Alex Jones. Oh boo-hoo! Did Alex Jones feel bad about lying about a school full of dead children for like a decade? Oh, boo-hoo! We get to see him be introspective about it? Oh, poor baby! No wonder Glenn has to use these fluffy bunny hands while asking him questions.
What is it that you think caused you to do that? I mean, you reference some things, I identify with it myself, that when, people who lie for a living are telling you that...
you identify with that, huh? Do you, Glenn? Why am I not surprised?
You're a liar. When people whose job it is to spread disinformation are accusing you of doing that, you kind of want to dig in a little bit and not give an inch to people who aren't criticizing you in good faith. But what is it about kind of how social media works, about how kind of groups function? Have you thought about some of the psychological and cultural dynamics that led you to make some of those mistakes in Sandy Hook?
Well, sure. Think of this like a 1,000-page book, and Sandy Hook in my life is like a quarter page.
Uh-huh. Let's, just real quick here. Okay, the Sandy Hook shooting was 10 years ago, all right? Alex Jones has been lying about it for 10 goddamn years. How old is Alex Jones? Alex Jones is 48 years old. He has been lying about Sandy Hook for over a fifth of his life, chat. This little bitch can't take any responsibility whatsoever. It's incredible. Yeah, it's only a quarter of a page, says man who spread conspiracy theories for 10 years at the expense of grieving families.
And I'm not putting down the kids that died or any of that stuff. It's just like
Yeah, it's true. Alex Jones, look, I would have thought Alex Jones was like 60. I'm not gonna lie.
I used to, on the air, go with, I would take calls. It used to be a call different show. It still is, but like 10 years ago, it was like almost all calls for like 4 hours a day. So the callers all call in and say, we don't believe this, look at this. So we're like, well, let's look at this, let's look at that. And they kind of take pieces of that out of context. And so here's a way to describe it. Fast forward to Jussie Smollett. I do a Sunday show, and I guess it was a Saturday night or whatever it was. Maybe it was a Monday show, I forget. But
what the fuck does Jussie Smollett have to do with the Sandy Hook shooting that you started lying about in 2012?
They say he's at 2:30 in the morning, and guys dump bleach on him and put a noose over his head and say it's MAGA country. And I'd already been sued for Sandy Hook, and I said, I don't care if I get sued. This doesn't sound real. And of course, it wasn't real. Or that NASCAR driver, Bubba Wallace, they had nooses hanging in my thing. It's like you just know that's BS. So a lot of it's just, I'm a talk show host. So I don't go, I'm journalistic and I have the witnesses and I have the proof and, Jussie Smollett's full of crap. But I still went on air and I said, the day after it happened, I said, Jussie Smollett's full of crap. There's not dudes at 23 below zero running around at 2:30 in the morning dumping bleach on black people. Get your ass kicked. You go attack black people, build a night in Chicago, you're looking to die. Run around 2:30 in the morning, that ain't going on. So to me,
interesting how he pivoted from his culpability for Sandy Hook conspiracy theories to Jussie Smollett.
It's kind of like the internet doesn't buy anything it's told anymore because they've been lied to so much. Take Uvalde. I didn't say anything about Uvalde. The head of the state police said everything we've been told is a lie. We don't know what happened. Project what you want on lies and incompetence and a 77-minute stand down. The police are putting hand sanitizer. So, Glenn, I'm sorry it's a long answer. What was the question? No.
What do you think led you into these kind of errors that you've been describing? And I think
it led.
Keep going.
Great question. It was just being on air 4 or 5 hours a day. You're very cavalier, and so you're not putting a journalistic filter on things. When I write an article,
Oh God, yeah. You don't have any journalistic culpability for being on air, do you? Yeah, you don't need to fact check when you're saying things to a camera live.
Would do that, or I make a film. I was like getting every piece together. Those were pretty good films. You watch my films from 20 years ago; they're pretty accurate. But
Jesus,
you're on air cavalier and like drinking vodka and smoking cigarettes and doing whatever, and you're like, yeah, I hear it's a bunch of fake BS, man, and you're sued for it. Oh God. So, and then once I got into that process, once they came after me for it, once Hillary made a big issue out of it, it was a totally different ball game. And then what makes me mad is they misrepresented what I said and what I did. And then in the trials they have coming up starting next week, they defaulted me, and the judge in Texas issued orders. Forget Alex Jones. Let's say I'm Hitler. What? The order says, cannot mention the First Amendment. It's in the order. Cannot say you're innocent. It cannot say it's a show trial. It's in an
You can't say that you're innocent. Yeah.
Order. So I'm probably going to boycott the trial or something, because that's not a trial where
Good luck, my dude. Godspeed.
If I was a guy caught again with 20 dead bodies in my basement, I could get up. They're like, Mr. Jones, we have the dead bodies and we have them in your basement. I'm still innocent, Your Honor. A judge has never said you can't say you're innocent. That is in a court order starting next Wednesday that I cannot say I'm innocent. So I'm not even feeling sorry for myself. I'm like, whoa, this is the end of the country. And so whatever things I did weren't on purpose. And
the things I did were not on purpose. I am not a fully grown man. I am technically an oversized child, and I have argued that successfully in a court of law, Your Honor.
I had 10 points to make on your question. It was a really big question.
No, I mean, I think, it's interesting, and I've
he got asked one question on Sandy Hook and lost his shit, chat. Yo, he is so fucking scared of losing his money.
This with myself.
Hey, Furious Jim.
You start off as kind of this outsider. You start off as like on Access TV. You start growing a little bit in influence, and suddenly you become, I think, one of the most influential people in the country with one of the largest audiences. It's hard, I think, sometimes to remind yourself, I'm not that guy on Access TV in Austin anymore, because it wasn't all that long ago when you weren't getting so much scrutiny, and then suddenly you're subjected to more scrutiny than anybody. And I think it's hard to try and kind of adapt with that, because it's kind of a slow and incremental
That's why you're a great writer, a great journal. That's
God, he's so loud.
Exactly what I meant to say. Because they go back.
Glenn Greenwald has decided that he wants to ally himself with transphobes, homophobes, bigots, and anti-Semites. Okay, he has decided that this is the correct move for him, that this is the cause he believes in, and that he's willing to go to bat for the worst people imaginable, and that he'll be the last gay against the wall when fascists take over. That is what he has deemed to be in his best interest. And fuck him.
They go back, and they go back 10 years, 5 years, and you're like, oh, I'd drink a bottle.
By the way, this video, this interview is basically the heel turn of the Green Goblin from the original Spider-Man movie. It's like he's gone full Joker mode. He's got the mask. He's got the glider. He's about to go vaporize Aunt May. Shit. This is essentially that in a nutshell. Okay, that's where we're at.
Vodka that day. Jesus, I said that. I'm going to be honest about it. I'm not going to lie to people. So it's yeah, exactly.
So let me ask you this, because I obviously do a lot of work on internet censorship. I've done a lot of work on free speech. For decades. People forget that.
Look, my rear end. I don't want to make any assumptions about their marriage. I do want to say it does seem like they must have some kind of open marriage arrangement, because I've never seen an interviewee fellatioed this hard.
In a lot of ways, you were the first test case for whether big tech could just deperson somebody from the internet by uniting all at once and just banning you from speaking. And it's so striking, because the reason, you were able to develop an audience is even in the 90s, when you're talking about the United States being repressive, you still had the freedom. You weren't going to get a job at the New York Times as a columnist saying that stuff, but you were able to go on Access TV and build an audience and go on radio. And now we're at the point where you can't be heard on the internet. You're not allowed to use any of the major venues of communication that we all use to disseminate information. You can't hear from Alex Jones unless you go purposely looking for you, and it's hard to find. What has that been like? What do you kind of see as somebody who's been at the center of it? What the pattern has been in terms of censorship and free speech over the last couple decades?
Well, I don't say this to sound like I care about everybody, which I do care about everybody, because we're all connected, but it's not like some thing I just throw out there. I really figured out early on when they were like writing about it. They had a Wall Street Journal article like 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago, that said, I forget the exact headline, but they had a Gizmodo article about it that linked to it. It was like a subscription article. It was like a 15-page article, but the article was, hold on to your tinfoil hat, Alex Jones. YouTube is about to ban you. So my crew members go, you need to read this. So they printed it off, and I went and read the Wall Street Journal article. For the exact headline, I was like, we're going to ban Julian Assange and WikiLeaks and Alex Jones. And once we ban Julian Assange and the left puts up with it, then we'll be able to ban Alex Jones. The right wing puts up with it. We'll be able to ban everything. And so I really understood that this wasn't me, when there was like, no exaggeration, sometimes 500 articles a day. Every TV station, Jones is an actor, he's a fake, he's a fraud. And I was able to handle it because I was realizing, this isn't me. I've acted like a jackass out of context. I've done some
No, it's not out of context, you asshole. We just watched a clip where you went on a 10-minute long rant about how Brian Stelter was a Jew who was controlling the banks and actively trying to predate on children. Okay? We just watched the clip where you were talking about how Jewish people and Brian Stelter, who again is not Jewish, drink the blood of babies. Okay? You literally participated in the most ancient form of anti-Semitism. Okay? You don't get to say, well, it's out of context. Nah, the context makes it worse, my dude.
bad things. So I am seen as the work-covered example, the exhibit that they're going to use. And I wasn't that work-covered creature, but if you looked at the huge amount of stuff I did, you could really piece together, like, that's a horrible person. And so they built me up as this big monster to then get everybody to go, yeah, screw that guy. He doesn't deserve free speech. And then once I fell, everybody else fell like dominoes. So that kind of gave me solace, but also upset me that they were torching American freedom using me as the first domino. And so I kind of transcended who I was and realized that only because the Wall Street Journal was at like a NATO meeting. I forget the exact art. It was like the NATO intelligence head was saying this, like, we'll get Assange, and then once she's from the State Department, she heard about this, she was there. Once we get Assange, then we'll get Jones. I'm like reading this going, what the frick? I was seen as an example
tomato
that they were going to get. And then, so like, once you're hit with something that big, it's like you're in Star Wars and 20 Star Destroyers show up to blow you up. It's like you're not even intimidated anymore. You're like, what the hell is this? I don't know how to describe it, Glenn. But
No, I remember back then, I was trying to get the left and other people who used to pretend to believe in free speech to actually care and be concerned about your banning, saying, do you actually think they're going to stop with Alex Jones? And I think shortly thereafter, they did the same thing to Milo Yiannopoulos. I said they're purposely picking the...
Oh no, Milo Yiannopoulos. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize. You're talking about that infomercial guy, right? The guy that does the Christian infomercials now? Yeah. The pro-pedophilia Christian influencer, Milo Yiannopoulos, that one? Okay.
People they know are highly unpopular in establishment circles so that they can have you cheer the president, which they will then use not just against others, but against your own allies.
They pick
also.
Flamboyant clowns. Exactly. And I'll admit that. That's what they did. And then that's what makes it sick is I'm being used as the instrument to take everybody else's freedom. That's my only guilt.
Yeah, when I got picked up at the airport, I was told that there was some difficulty for a while getting a venue here in Austin to do this event, that when they found out that you were involved, they said, you know what, on second thought, we're not really interested in your money. And I thought about it for a minute, and at first I said, okay, yeah, of course that's the case. And then I realized that shouldn't be so comforting, like normal to hear. That should be chilling and alarming. What do you mean we're in the United States? Why is it difficult to get a venue to show a film about somebody who has a lot? And we've been so conditioned.
Probably because of market forces, Glenn. Might be because people might not be too keen on using that venue if they knew that the people who hosted are fans of Alex Jones.
Getting too comfortable.
Yeah, I think there's a kind of repression that has emerged that we've been trained for so long to think takes place in other places that we have a very hard time recognizing that we're actually subject to that level of repression here. Have you had problems with the film, like this film, getting...
The content so far is Glenn Greenwald doing the most softball interview ever with someone who has spent decades railing against gay rights, trans people, and Jewish folks. Okay, like that's Glenn Greenwald has completed his transformation into a conservative grifter as of this interview.
Distribution and other kind of publicity for it that you didn't have with the first film? Have you noticed greater difficulty?
There's a bear shit in the woods.
Well, sort of, but also.
Well, bears sort of shit in the woods. Sometimes they shit in garbage cans.
We read the tea leaves after what happened with our last film, and we took matters into our own hands, and thanks to Play Nice, hi,
literal vampire potbelly
we started
running
basically
around,
talking to people outside of Hollywood, and I'm a free agent. I'm not Play Nice, but we're a team on this movie for sure, and there are people that are interested in seeing authentic content. And wanting.
I'm just desperate to get my name out there, and I'm sure that this will be a good career move for me.
MDC and Amanda Milius can vouch for that too. But we're building an alternative sort of economy and an alternative show business actually for this kind of thing. But it's challenging, but I just expect that. So, but we're also number 2 after Top Gun. So,
yeah. Well, let me ask you, Alex and Glenn, this very next question. How do you see this backfiring? Because I've studied history in hindsight, and tyranny, especially in the West, always gets responded to in a big way, like Hitler, the communists, all of it. I think the backlash of this is going to be massive. I mean, what are you seeing, Glenn?
Yeah, no, it's funny, Alex, because you that was the last question I was going to ask you was exactly that one, because there were times in the film when you were saying, you were seeming a little nihilistic, like things are really grim. But obviously you see some hope. If you didn't, you wouldn't be doing this. There's a lot of other things you can be doing. And I think it's exactly right. I think when I look at this polling data that shows that 80 or 85% of the public now despises corporate media outlets to the same extent that I do, feels the same nausea and indignation when thinking about them. Of course, there's part of me that thinks, wow, that's, kind of dangerous for the society to lose complete faith in all institutions of authority.
But they did it.
But yeah, they deserve it. That's a valid loss of trust. It's a valid distrust that they have. But in that, I see so much opportunity, because that is what has driven your ability and my ability and other people's ability to develop an audience. If they had a stranglehold on the thought process of the public, no one would be willing to listen to us, question what they're saying.
And that's why I want to admit I've been wrong, but not on purpose. I don't want to be with them. So I have been bad. I've made mistakes, and I'm sorry. It wasn't on purpose, and I apologize. But I am not them on purpose line, because they are going down. I am not with them.
So as the last question,
human race that I hate.
Let me ask you. We are raised in a country where we're indoctrinated from the beginning to think of our country as this kind of bastion of freedom and liberty, and repression and tyranny are words that apply only to other countries, the ones we're told to hate. And when you're indoctrinated with those kinds of ideas from the beginning, in all different directions, it's very hard to free yourself from them, even if you start rationally realizing that you should. It's kind of just ingrained in us, like viscerally. You seem to be somebody who, from the very beginning, were saying things that in your community and in your politics and in the media were things that were going to cause you to be cast aside as a crazy person or as a conspiracy theorist, going back to the 90s with Waco and the FBI and those sorts of things. Why did that happen? Why did you end up on this path that caused you to just constantly be so skeptical of what you're told by authority?
My uncle, William Forrest Hammond, was a heroic helicopter pilot in Vietnam, and then he worked at Iran-Contra. And he wouldn't tell me all the secret stuff, but he said, when I was like a teenager, I was like, I like Rush Limbaugh. And he goes, the Republicans are controlled, the Democrats are controlled. And I was down there visiting for like 2 weeks in San Antonio. And he said, let me just take you back on the back porch and let's sit down and, eat a sandwich, talk about this. And he told me about a lot of the stuff he saw in Vietnam and how he did these things he was told to do. And then he got worse and worse and worse to the moment he said no. And it was narcotics trafficking in Vietnam, and then it was everything, with the Iran-Contra. It met a point where they were smuggling kids out of orphanages. He didn't know where they were going. And he said at that point he was done. And so he told me about all that. And then I had other family, that were involved in black operations back when it was all human intelligence, and like the Russians were actually here and they were actually in wars. So my dad's cousin was involved in a bunch of stuff. And so I grew up kind of like sitting around dinner table, like hearing these people talk about this stuff. And so I kind of knew what was going on when other people didn't. And I was just growing up around that. And so I kind of heard that. And then my dad was heavily involved in geopolitics and research and all these books around the house. And so I kind of grew up around that. And these were like pro-American people, but they were saying the government's bad. The government did a lot of bad stuff. There's a bad group taking over. Yeah, but they weren't telling me this. You know, there's a bumper sticker. If you want your children to listen, whisper. They weren't telling me this stuff. This was me hiding around the corner, like listening to what they were talking about. And so that's why I had a leg up on it all, was because of a bunch of family stuff.
So I was, before I came here, I was thinking about where I would be instead of here if I had made different choices to pursue the kind of mainstream acceptability that I was interested in wondering why you had rejected. And I was thinking I'd probably be in like the CNN building with Wolf Blitzer and Chris Hayes and like Amy Klobuchar and Nancy Pelosi, wanting to kill myself out of boredom and disgust. And, you know, I refer to this crowd as like a kind of crowd of misfits and outcasts, and it is, and I'm so happy.
Oh, misfits and outcasts, you know, like the trans people that you shit on daily, Glenn?
So much happier to be around people like this who place themselves on the outside and decide that they're not going to pay that price of kind of, you know, embracing things they don't believe for whatever rewards they offer. And you've been doing this for decades and taking all kinds of slings and arrows, and you yourself recognize you made a lot of mistakes.
Hey, your boy Heavy T.
But I'm really glad you've been doing what you're doing.
Well, Glenn, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate Alex's whole thing. And
Thanks, Glenn.
absolutely. Just to close on that.
Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, she really talked a lot about her movie here.
Go ahead, you want to say something?
No,
Kurt?
I was just thanking you.
No, but thank you.
Being in the movie, and you know, I never really thanked you for.
Well, you guys are being too nice, but the difference is I didn't make mistakes on purpose. We all get better and we all fix them. And but the larger issue is we have a lot of. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, did you make mistakes on purpose, or did you do them
She was just trying to laugh. She didn't want to say anything.
intentionally?
Do I what? No, I said it 5 times. Yeah, you're right. Well, hey, what a great event. And what do you make of the film being number 2 behind Top Gun? It's going to be pretty big.
I don't know if it still is number 2 behind Top Gun, but let's just keep saying it is.
It's not?
Yeah, who cares about the truth? Wubba lubba dub dub.
That's not fake news on purpose. I don't know.
All right, everybody, thanks so much. Hope you enjoyed the film.
Thank
and
you.
Glenn
Thanks,
Greenwald,
everybody.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for
Alex.
supporting free speech.
I remember what I was going to say, though. I was going to text him and say, you can interview Charlie Manson, and he had already tweeted that. If you're like myself and so many other people on this planet, especially as you get older, you gain weight, even if you eat a lot less.
What the fuck? What the fuck was any of that? God, Glenn, be ashamed of yourself. Have the decency to be ashamed, Glenn.
But I gotta tell you, InfoWars is...
You are helping him hawk his stupid ass brain pills. I'm officially dumber now. We're all officially dumber now.